If you don't like to hear wrestling, tweet at Spike Eskin that you ticked off. Because this idea of talking Royal Rumble for about an hour came from the architect himself. From a man who runs this radio station and has often complained to me. He says, Evan, we don't talk enough wrestling. And I said, you're right. We should talk wrestling. Why don't me and Luggie just break down the Royal Rumble like 2 days after it happens? And he said, I think that's a great idea, and I'll even give you guys bonuses for it. So, Luggie, you didn't know this? You got a bonus coming.
Great. I hope I get that bonus soon. After Christmas gifts, I need some money.
You're damn right. Now, I'll tell you what I thought of the Rumble. Luggie will give you his thoughts. We'll take some of your calls. There's breaking news. CM Punk is like ripped up his shoulder. He's done. So the idea of Punk coming back and fighting at WrestleMania, that's out the window. He'll be on Raw tonight. He'll probably cry. Everyone will chant his name, and then he'll go away for the next 9 months and talk about writing his story. The Royal Rumble on Saturday night, and I watched this entire thing with my 7-year-old. He never got bored. Though at the very end, I could tell he was like, all right, can we do this? Like, what the hell's happening? The Royal Rumble did its job. It did its job. They elevated the storylines they needed to elevate. They told the stories they needed to tell. But the actual event was very mediocre. There was nothing spectacular about it. There was no, oh my God, this is amazing. There was nothing shocking, at least shocking enough to cause, my phone to blow up or for your phone to blow up. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where the ends justified the means. You had Cody win the Rumble. Great, he's going to finish the story. You had Bayley win the Women's Royal Rumble. Great, that's a cool little storyline. You had a nice conclusion to the KO match. That was intriguing. Great, that storyline continues. And Roman got to win relatively clean. So it was fine. I think all the results were fine. But for 4 hours, it was like,
Yeah, and I mean, first things first, I had to double check where the event was because I'm shocked that there were actually people in the Tropicana field in Tampa because usually they draw about 10 people for Rays games. So once I saw there was about 40,000, I'm like, this is really Tampa? You're right, Ev. Look, the Rumble last year was awesome. It was a great event. Of course, Cody won the Rumble last year. The great angle they had at the end with the Bloodline, Sami Zayn, one of the great all-time Rumbles. It was a hard act to follow. I agree with you. It was by the numbers, no real surprises, no real old-timers that came back either in the women's or the men's Rumble. I thought the crowd at times was dead. I think for a lot of reasons. Number one, these women come out and they're like generic theme song. They didn't even know who half of them were. Right. It's like they don't even have the Jumbotron anymore. So the crowd's like stunned. They don't even realize what's going on. Naomi, she walked out of the company. She comes back after a year and a half. Her music hits and the announcers, McAfee, Michael Cole, Corey Graves, more on him later, they basically acted like she was there last week. They were like, oh, and here's number 2. It's Naomi. And then I guess her producer got in there and they go, hey, jackasses, she hasn't been around for a year and a half. Can you actually put this over? And then she had the great showing. So it wasn't like a perfect event by any means necessary. But you're right. It got there. It was chalk, as they say. You got to Punk. You got to Cody, the final 2. I didn't think it was as good as last year with Gunther and Cody as far as the final 2. But I do like the fact, Ev, when we were kids, I feel like it was like rushed at the end when you got to the Rumble. Like it got to the final 2 and then it would be over in a second. I do like it creating almost its own match at the end, but I thought Gunther and Cody were better a year ago, and now we know why, because Punk was hurt.
Well, yeah, Punk got hurt, which did you notice that happened during the match?
No, I didn't notice.
I didn't notice it.
I didn't notice the actual injury, but I do have an eye for sort of things, and I saw that the ref came over to him in the corner, but it went out of my mind real quick, and then I just went on with the match. Here's the thing with Punk. And I don't, if he wants to continue wrestling, that's totally up to him. But it's like, dude, this is the second tricep injury, reportedly, allegedly. Now, we don't know officially if it's tricep. But if this is the second time he's got to get surgery on his tricep in the last 2 or 3 years, he's in his 40s. He's getting injured a lot. I'm not telling you to retire, but at some point, it's like he's a step slow, which is, look, in the WWE, it's about star power. If you're not putting on 5-star matches, whatever. But at some point, it's like, he's got to think, like, is this worth it? I'm getting hurt all the time. Like, do I really need to main event in WrestleMania? Do I really need to wrestle? I get it. You love it. You're passionate. If Tiki hung around, I was going to ask him this because it's like Teak left his football career. He didn't want to get hurt anymore. Like, Punk's 45 years old, for whatever, mid-40s. Like, is it worth it at this point for this guy? If you're going to continue to have major injuries? I would think not, but that's totally up to him. But
he also never got to really do a WWE return. Like, the guy comes back. He does a house show at the Garden, which maybe some people got to see because it was local. but he hasn't wrestled. Like, this was his first real match back, and he's already hurt.
First televised match in 10 years. It was in the Royal Rumble, and this was the concern with having The Rock in the Royal Rumble, Evan.
Yes.
And this is what I tell you when you're like, well, Roman should wrestle twice on WrestleMania weekend. Here's the problem. If somebody gets hurt, then what do? So your backup plan better be better than the original plan. Plan B better be better than plan A.
Wow.
So now we're going to find out what their plan B is for Seth, assuming he's healthy for WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I think we all assumed. And by the way, here's why the Rumble lost some luster, too. And it's related to what you were just about to say. Louie was about to say, yeah, CM Punk was going to fight Seth Rollins, right? That's the assumption we all had. Well, then why was the end of Punk Cody that dramatic? We all knew both guys were in all likelihood getting title matches. This is the problem when they got two titles.
Yep.
See, back in the day, was last year. Last year, and then prior to that, back in the day, when there was only one world champion, the Royal Rumble was truly, hey, if you win, you main event WrestleMania. When you have multiple titles, you don't really have to win the Royal Rumble because then they'll just book something a month later where you win an Elimination Chamber and get a title match. So that last 5-minute sequence between Punk and between Cody. And my kid loved it, and I kept saying, Jet, who do you think's going to win? He's like, I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it doesn't matter who wins because whoever loses can still get a title match.
I agree with you.
So you lose the drama of it.
You definitely lost the drama. The only thing that comes out of that is, of course, the discourse of the fact that Cody wins the Rumble. Is that more important for him to go back-to-back first time in, I think, 26 years since Austin did it, and they repeated that over and over again on the telecast. And, of course, Punk, first televised match, was in AEW, basically left the company, and you reward the guy immediately. So that's just more online discourse, whether or not who won or not.
Yeah, but
right.
in the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
No, as far as the TV product, whoever lost was going to win the chamber and was going to fight. Right.
That's why, like...
Although, didn't they say they were going to main event WrestleMania so that's the Sunday night, or is that semantics?
They just throw that out there, semantics.
Right.
When Sheamus won the Royal Rumble 10 years ago, they're like, he's main eventing WrestleMania. Meanwhile, he was the what's that term? The jerker, the
curtain jerker?
Yeah, the curtain jerker.
Yeah, the first match is called the curtain jerker.
And what'd he do? He fought Daniel Bryan in a 9-second match.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
It was like Lugie's Saturday Night. You know what I mean? So like,
or a bridge show.
Right. So what is he? Yeah, I'm learning that with all these commercials. So what the hell does it mean? I will say I liked when Punk said into the camera, I ain't losing to Dusty's kid. I like that.
Great storytelling.
That was a heel move.
And the pedigree. Now, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, he does the pedigree. He's like, I can't believe I'm doing this bleep.
Look, I get it. Like, if you're somebody that doesn't watch all the time, you don't pick up on stuff this maybe. But one thing I don't love is when they telegraph stuff like that. Whenever a guy taunts somebody or a gal taunts somebody, they get thrown out. So that's the only thing. Sometimes they telegraph
100%.
McIntyre did it, Punk did it. Whenever they say, you'll never beat me, they get beat like 3 seconds later.
As soon as he said, I won't lose to Dusty's kid, that's when I knew.
Yep.
I had a feeling Cody was going to win. Like, we made the prediction on Friday, but I was back and forth between the two guys for the reasons I gave. Like, I kind of figured both guys are main eventing WrestleMania or getting a title match, so who the hell cares? Like, either one could win.
Yep.
But I leaned towards Cody a little bit. And as soon as Punk said that, it was like, oh, okay, all right, I know what they're doing now. Cody's winning. And so it ends with Cody pointing at Roman, so they get to further that freaking story.
Can I offer up a slight conspiracy theory for you?
Punk was supposed to win till he got hurt?
Sort of. So, sort of. So, on the subject of telegraphing things, because they try to tell you a story, they drop little hints, right? Like McAfee was saying throughout the broadcast, hey, how's the longest time, or what's the longest time an announcer's been in the Rumble, and then he's in the Rumble. So I think they were sort of teasing that. Early on in the Rumble, I think it was McAfee goes, have there ever been 2 winners of the Rumble?
Michael Cole said it.
Which, by the way, they got wrong.
They got it
Brett
wrong.
and Luger won the Royal Rumble, you idiots.
Yes.
I don't want to be name called, but come on.
I had to. When I heard Michael Cole say that, he said, there's never been 2 winners, but there's been an overtime. And he referred to Batista and John Cena.
When Vince got hurt.
Yeah. So he says that, and I looked at my son. I was like, Jed, actually, there were 2 winners. He's like, how? And I had to explain Bret Hart, Lex Luger. But yeah, so you thought they were gonna just repeat that angle?
Is it possible that Punk and Cody were gonna both win? Because why would you just randomly throw that out there in a broadcast? So I'm thinking maybe if your conspiracy theory, you think maybe they called an audible. What if they were both supposed to win? They saw Punk was hurt, so they just had Cody win. Just to the conspiracy theory.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I think it would have been fun if they did something different where they both won and they furthered the angle. But the other thing was there has been a cloud. I don't think it's a cloud because I've loved it. The idea that The Rock is main eventing with Roman Reigns. That has been out there now for weeks, ever since The Rock dropped a line on SmackDown where he said, when The Rock goes out to dinner, was it Raw? Raw or SmackDown? I forget what show he was on. When The Rock goes out to dinner, should I sit at a bar or should I sit at the head of the table? That whole thing. We've all assumed Rock was fighting Roman. And I'm all for it. Even my 8-year-old was like, or 7-year-old, I'm moving him up a year. Even my 7-year-old was like, I'd want to see Rock against Roman. Like, we want to see that match.
Of course.
And there have been some who said, no, Cody's got to finish his story. This is BS. And it's like, Cody could finish his story some other time. Okay? We could push the story back. This is The Rock. Rock against Roman is the biggest match the WWE has. Even if you don't like wrestling, you're like, oh, Rock against Roman. So the whole night, I'm sitting there in the back of my mind thinking and hoping that they're going to further this Rock-Roman story. Mm-hmm. So how do you do it? So I thought if Roman's match main evented the show, well, then it's obvious The Rock's going to show up at the end of the main event. Mm-hmm. And there you go. They just furthered it. But if they're going to end with the Rumble, maybe The Rock enters the Royal Rumble at 30, wins the Rumble, and says, head of the table, I'm coming after you. The fact they didn't do it, and the fact that Cody won, and he's pointing at Roman, so clearly we're getting Cody Roman WrestleMania, there's no doubt. We just got this huge tease of The Rock, and at least in the short term, it's not being delivered.
No.
And that's the other part of Rumble that made it a little mediocre. I was waiting for that to further, and we didn't get it. And I know to some that's really exciting. Oh, great, Cody's going to get to finish the story. I'm just saying, for me, I'm still thinking the better main event is Rock Roman, and we're clearly not getting it at WrestleMania. That's out the window, right?
Maybe not. Because Cody can now fight Seth, and you could get Rock and Roman, and if you want to go that route. But
they're not doing that.
No, but they could now that Punk's hurt. My thing with Rock, Roman, and we've had, actually, Evan and I have had this argument for years off air, is that it doesn't need to be for the belt. Being the head of the table is more important than the world title. I know the world title is the most important thing, but for storyline purposes, I think Rock and Roman could fight without the belt. It's for the head of the table, so Roman can drop the strap to Cody at some point here. I just think they want Roman to break Hogan's record. I don't think he can break like Bruno's record. You have to be champ for the next 40 years. But I don't know if Cody's going to finish the story here, believe it or not. Like, I think the Jets have a better shot of winning the Super Bowl next year than Cody does of finishing the story.
Now you're wrong.
Why? They want him to break. They love breaking records. Where is he at with Hogan? I don't think he still has to go another year.
He'd have to take it into the spring and summer. He's not. Yeah. He's losing to Cody.
Isn't
that obvious?
Yes, but maybe that's the reason you don't do it.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Don't do what? Cody's fighting Roman Reigns. That's clear. And he's going to beat him. And that's it. Story's finished. Everybody's happy.
But here's the problem.
So we have to see him as champion.
But here's the problem. They continue to cheat the bloodline. No one's figured this out. That Solo Sikoa's basically, cheated in every single match. Meanwhile, the good guy never realizes this and has a backup plan to stop this.
I'm glad you said that.
Okay.
Before we get to your calls, and we're about to get
Solo
there.
Sikoa, by the way. Sorry.
Solo Sikoa. We're about to get to your calls, 877-337-6666. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You want to write this down?
No, I don't.
I'm telling you I'm going to be right. I nailed a Chief Niners Super Bowl before the start of the season. I nailed a Giant 6-win season before the year, and I'm about to nail this. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania Night 2. Solo comes out. Crowd is just like, oh, God, are we doing this again? The bloodline's cheating. Does the Samoan spike? Roman does. Like, it's all set up for Roman to cheat again. Cody breaks out of it. And then guess what happens? Rock's music goes off. And The Rock stops the bloodline. And Cody Rhodes' backup plan, like you just said, is I need someone to stop this cheating, okay? The man to stop the cheating is The Rock. He shows up, stops Solo, stops Jimmy Uso. Roman is like, you got to be kidding me. And then Cody beats him. It's still a clean victory.
Right.
Because The Rock didn't interfere. He just stopped the bloodline. Yep. Cody finishes his story. He wins the championship. The night ends with The Rock and Roman staring each other down. WrestleMania 41 set up. Good night.
Yeah, normally I would hate...
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just booked the next year.
Normally, I would hate that because I feel like it cheapens Cody's moment. It takes away from him. But in reality, if it was real, Solo cost him the belt the year before, so now Cody's got to be prepared for that. Like I just said, he interferes in every single match.
Exactly, that's the story.
Yeah, you take a little bit away from Cody's victory, though, by having Rock Roman at the end, but it is The Rock. So, I mean, and Cody will obviously go on to be the world champion. He finished the story, and then they can finish other storylines up or continue or start new
But
ones.
I think that's what we're looking at because we're clearly not seeing Roman Rock at WrestleMania. That's done. That's not happening.
Yeah, and Roman, who I think is slowly going up the ladder of the greatest of all time here, but we're getting into Hollywood Hogan territory where it's the same finish. He's barely on TV. And the NWO was a great period, but at some point it's like I'm tired of watching the same slow plotting match.
That's why the booking of having someone stopping the same booking is actually really smart booking.
Right.
Think about it. Now, I want to take your calls, but Paul Rosenberg agreed to produce an extra half hour, and in doing so, he's demanded some airtime. So go ahead.
Can I alter your idea one bit? Can we have that be night 1, and then you just hot shot Roman Rock night 2 this year?
That's a terrible idea.
Do everything this year. Do everything this year.
By the way, if it was up to me, because that booking is not what I would do, it's what I think they're going to do. There's a difference. What I would do, and I've said this before, was I would have Roman fight twice. Like, I would book Roman Cody, Roman Rock, 2 main events. And by the way, there's more of a reason to do it now since CM Punk is out.
That's my thinking is you just do everything night 1 and night 2.
But if that's the case, I'm starting the feud now. And I think what would make that interesting is you even float the idea Roman Rock Saturday night. If The Rock wins, it's Rock Cody Sunday night. Like, it's possible. And you cut some promos between them. Yeah, that's what I would love. I think that makes it the biggest WrestleMania, but I don't think there's any chance they're going to do that. Now let's get to some of your calls. Mike is in Marine Park. How are you, Mike?
Lex Lugauer and Evan Born Ginger. How you doing, guys?
What's up, Mike?
We're good.
Listen, this is awesome. About time. There should have been something like this going on for a long time.
I know. The architect begged me, and we finally said we're doing it after the Rumble.
Realize how big professional. Well, I don't want to. Oh, sports entertainment is,
there
man. Oh my Lord.
There you go.
Guys, listen. You stole my thunder a little bit. I've been contemplating how they're going to work this out, and I was thinking the same thing. Night 1, night 2. I think Evan, your Sunday night, your scenario is absolute perfection. The only other way I think they could do this is if they do the whole world title loss at WrestleMania and then go into SummerSlam for the head of the table. But that would be dragging the story out way too long.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking what they're going to do with this. It was a very mediocre Royal Rumble, as far as I'm concerned.
Very.
And one thing I want to mention, I think it was Drew McIntyre that ripped. That's where the injury happened.
Yeah,
for Punk.
the DDT to Punk. Yeah.
One more thing. What you guys think? You said no surprise, and right, there were no really big surprises, maybe except for Andrade. But I was so impressed with Jordan Grace.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because she's in TNA now.
Did not finally kick down the. Listen, AEW has it on lock when it comes to working with other promotions. Mm-hmm. But WWE needs to look into this.
No, that was great. Here's the problem. What he's describing is that one of the women's surprises was the TNA Knockouts champion.
They are back to being called TNA now after being called Impact forever.
It's a great surprise. It's great that they're working with them. I got no idea who the hell she is.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I don't watch TNA. I mean, it sounds weird. I don't watch Impact Wrestling.
Total nonstop action.
I haven't watched it.
For those curious out there, and most of you are probably wrestling fans, yeah.
No, but think about that. Like, most people, I don't even think I'm casual. Like, I don't think I'm a casual fan. I'm a pretty diehard fan.
Yeah.
I watch a little AEW, obviously. I don't watch I had no idea who she was. So she was good, and she came out with a belt, and I was like, wow, she's got a belt on. I couldn't pop for it because I was like, who the hell's this person?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, anytime, because WWE was always so rigid about working with other companies, at least. And now Mickie James was also, at the time, Impact Women's Champ. I think it was last year, and she was in the Rumble. So they've done this before. Maybe it opens up to them working with other promotions. And we've discussed this before. I don't think it'll ever happen. But WWE and AEW doing stuff together. WWE has always been narrow-minded in the past. We know why. Now that that person no longer works there, maybe they'll be a little more open-minded to doing stuff like this.
Ben in Westchester was in the Trop last night. How about her Saturday night? How about that, Ben? How was that experience?
Well, I was down there with my kids.
Nice.
The biggest pop of the night was when Pat McAfee was announced as the guest announcer.
To start the show. Yeah.
To start the show. Everything else was, like you said, the women's show was boring. It was just people, who's this, who's that?
Yep.
The 5 biggest takeaways. I got my little Cinco de Banger Ben 5-0 here.
Nice.
The first thing was, the biggest pop also was R-Truth coming in the women's match. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was
R-Truth is the biggest underused comedy talent since DX.
Yeah, shout out to Ron Killings, who's been in the company basically for like 25-plus years, and Ron's
exactly.
great.
He's a chain smoker with the best body in the world.
Yes.
Kofi Kingston, no more Royal Rumble for him.
You know what, Ben?
No more great saves.
Go ahead, sorry. No, I was going to say, Ben, that he's had 2 years in a row where he's done the great saves, but he's effed it up. So I think I've noticed that, too, that he just got eliminated easily. I think somebody or Kofi himself was like, yeah, I ain't doing that anymore. Because for years he was doing it, and the last 2 years he screwed up. Last year it looked like he almost got hurt. So I think that's why he probably stopped doing it.
Absolutely. And there was no great talent until the last 7 or 8 people came in. Rumor has it Brock Lesnar got pulled because of the Vince McMahon lawsuit.
Yep.
They brought in the Big Braun, which is great. But the thing was, Omos was in the ring. Nobody saw him get eliminated because everybody was excited about CM Punk coming in. Omos went over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Big miss. They had the Usos come in early. And Evan, your twin, Sami Zayn, came in 30. They could have kept them all in there with Rhodes and had a great storyline for the table once again with that. Because earlier today, they were talking about what wrestlers who should be who. You're definitely Sami's name with that beard.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do. I think my beardness has made me Sami Zayn like. You know what the problem is? I feel bad for Sami. When you are number 30 in the Royal Rumble, there's an expectation. There's an expectation that you're going to shock us, that it's going to be something amazing. And I like Sami, but he's been gone for like 3 weeks. He's not a shock. He's not something insane. And so I know when I was watching, when Sami came out at 30, I was like, I was hoping for The Rock. I was hoping for something crazy. And so they put Sami in a tough spot because we were waiting for that surprise, and there wasn't one.
They were a year late on it. Sami should have been 30 last year.
Yes. Well, he was nuclear over last year.
Correct. That's where he should have been 30. Now, this year, you're right, and it's no disrespect to Sami, came back. They just didn't really have a really good surprise. Because even the rumor they pulled Brock and Braun Breaker, Rick Steiner's son, was sort of his replacement. He did all the Brock Lesnar spots, all that. But even that's not like, Carmelo Hayes. I mean, they're great NXT guys, but as far as like that really cool surprise, you didn't see it in the Men's Royal Rumble. And then the Royal Rumble is built on that. You expect it.
I'm just glad it wasn't Hulk Hogan because there was certainly a thought with him doing the video to hype everybody up and the fact even making a joke about being number 30.
Yeah.
Like, here's the problem. WWE 2K is one of the great video games you could ever have, right? My son loves it. We play every freaking night. And in the video game, Hulk Hogan's in his prime. In the video game, Stone Cold Steve Austin's in his prime. In that video game, guys who are no longer with us are in their prime. So if Hulk Hogan walked out, the look on Jet's face would be, that's Hulk Hogan? Because he'd need a walker to get out there.
I thought he might be 30 because they were teasing it. I was like, you could get away with it. But by the way, and I could be wrong here, I'll check it in the break, but I think in the Men's Royal Rumble, the number, you're a stats guy, the number with the most victories is 27, I believe. You know who 27 was this year? Punk.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I think 27 is the most victories in the Royal Rumble coming out at that position.
What a geek, the fact he even knows that.
Well, I mean, I am a geek with wrestling, unfortunately. My wrestling knowledge is Evan's baseball knowledge. I try to hide it as much as humanly possible. I appreciate that we're exposing that now to the world. But yes, I am a big nerd and stats guy when it comes to wrestling.
We'll come back with more of your calls, 877-337-6666. Let's go to Rob in Brooklyn. What's up, Rob?
Hey, guys. So I got to say, watching January 1st, seeing The Rock come back, now The Rock's not going to be a part of Mania. I feel a little let down. And Evan, I love the idea that you pitched, but I think there's something else going on. I think they're trying to get The Rock set up for Saudi Arabia. Something changed, and they're bringing. I think so. I think it's for the money. I think there's a lot of money.
I get it. Like Saudi Arabia, they're trying to sports wash. Basically, that's what they've been doing over the last few years, and I understand what they're doing. And I understand that the WWE does business over there, okay? And that's fine. But you're going to take the biggest money match possible. The biggest match you could argue in the history of the company would be Roman Reigns against The Rock. And you're going to send it to Saudi Arabia?
Right, so all of us here in the States could watch it at 2 in the morning, too, by the way? Because those are usually, in the morning, those Saudi shows?
The Saudi
or early afternoon on a Saturday.
It's an afternoon thing. It isn't even the time aspect of it, because the time it's the fact that those shows, and we've had a bunch of them, and we've had weird matches there. We had Goldberg Undertaker. Yep. We had Shawn Michaels making his return.
The Goldberg Undertaker was awful. All of them were awful.
But those matches are like, they don't even exist.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, you make fun of it, but they're not historical wrestling matches. You can't send The Rock and Roman Reigns to Saudi Arabia.
For the Blood Money show? Yeah, I don't like that either. Do it at SummerSlam. Isn't the SummerSlam in Georgia this year?
I don't know if they've announced where SummerSlam is.
I thought I heard a rumor that it was in Atlanta, which would make sense for Cody to win the belt there because he's from there. But yeah, I'm with you, Av. You can't do it on the Saudi show.
No, but they're setting it up, and this is a true prediction. I got no insight. I'm giving you an educated guess like I do sometimes with sports predictions. I think like Rock Cena had a 1-year build. They're going to do a 1-year build.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be at next year's WrestleMania.
That's what I think they're going for because The Rock has always said publicly when asked about fighting Roman, he wants it to be big, he wants it to be special, and he believes in the long haul. Well, the long haul is a 1-year build like he did with Cena. It's not a couple of show-ups on Raw and SmackDown and stick that thing in the first week of April. But our last caller's right. When you think about the fact that Punk is now out, that there are questions about Rollins, and that we're getting Cody Roman, which, look, we saw last year. I get it. He's finishing the story. We saw the match last year. The card for WrestleMania today feels a lot weaker than we thought 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we were speculating, like you said, Rock Roman. Will Roman wrestle twice? Punk Rollins. Maybe Cody and Punk finishing the story. And injuries happen, and now they got to scramble. And I think in the old regime, Steve Austin would be getting a call, and Goldberg would be getting a call, and The Undertaker would be getting a call. I don't think Triple H will do that. I think he will just put another person in that place, whether it be Drew McIntyre for Seth, or Gunther, or maybe they call up Braun Breaker or somebody like that. But they're going to have to find Seth an opponent, and they're going to have to figure out whether or not they're going to put the belt on Cody.
Let's go to Dan in Levittown. Hey, Dan.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
What's up?
Good.
So I was at Tropicana Field for the Royal Rumble, and I have to disagree with Ben. I loved the event. I thought the crowd was electric on Saturday. The biggest pop, I think, was when Cody came out for his entrance, and Hulk Hogan was in the crowd, so people were worried that he was actually going to enter the Rumble.
He was in the crowd. Where was he sitting?
He was in a suite. He entered right before the show started, and people started recognizing him. And then we're like, "Uh-oh, what if he actually entered?"
Was he booed, by the way? Like, were people booing him or were they cheering him?
It was mixed.
Yeah.
It was mixed. But my point with The Rock, was I disappointed he was not there? Yes. But I agree with both of you. I think it's going to be a one-year build, and to make it even bigger, I think WrestleMania could be at Wembley Stadium in England next year, and that'll be one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time and historic.
Yeah. You know what? Good for them if they get it, but why does that make it bigger? Like, think about it. You know, why would the WrestleMania going international be bigger for us? It wouldn't be. It would just be like, it's another dome. It's another, not dome, but another big stadium show. That's all it would be.
There is no number. They've kind of now they cook the numbers a little bit and they make up numbers, but they've already had it at really big arenas, so I don't think there's a crowd or a crowd size that would really wow us for a WrestleMania. At this point, it's kind of just like the Super Bowl, right? Like whenever a city gets the Super Bowl, we're like, all right, cool, it's in New Orleans, it's in Vegas, whatever. Same thing with WrestleMania. Like there isn't really a place they could go, at least in my opinion, where I'd be like, wow, that's really awesome that they're going there. Like I don't really care about the location unless it's locally and I could go to it.
Yes.
I don't, you know what I mean? Well, or if it's a place I may want to go to around the country, possibly, but I've never actually done that. But I would think about it maybe to tie it in like you do with sports or something, to go to a Mania and visit a city or something.
It's funny, man. We talked to two people that went to the Trop for this thing. I haven't been to a WrestleMania since WrestleMania 11, which was in Hartford, Connecticut in 1995.
LT
it was main evented by Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, I have no interest in going to any of these Manias because I would think that most of the seats are absolutely terrible.
Well,
like what's a good seat at a football stadium with a tiny wrestling ring in the middle of it?
I went to both MetLife WrestleManias. The most recent one, I just got back yesterday. It took about 3.5 years to get out of there. It was an absolute joke. It's like, did anybody realize there's going to be 60, 70? I know it's wrestling. There's like 70,000 people here. It took forever.
But how were the seats? Did you have a good view?
No, I did not have a good
that's
view.
my point. Like, is there a good view when you're in a football stadium for a wrestling event? Like, what the hell's a good view?
I had better seats the second time that was Cena Rock 2. It was better. Also, I don't like outdoors because you don't hear the noise, right? Like I like more like 18, 20,000 people. It's a little more intimate. You can hear the crowd more. The big arena shows are cool to watch on television, Evan, but they're not great to be in person. Plus, it's friggin' cold, and I got to sit out there in 50 degrees.
You're a wuss.
And that used to be when WrestleMania. What do you mean I'm a wuss?
It's cold out.
It's 65 and sunny on my couch at all times. Yes, I don't want to sit
You go
in
to
the cold.
football games?
No, I don't.
All right, well,
No, I do not. I go in September to tailgate. When it's warm out.
SAWFT, a little soft.
Well, you know what? I am.
How would you book WrestleMania with Punk out now?
Ooh, I'm racking my brain here. I don't think there's an obvious answer. I really don't. I think that Seth Punk was the match to do, and I don't know if another opponent really stands out. Drew McIntyre, is that getting anybody excited? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the main event, but if it's going to be the main event on night 2, you got to do something really, really good. I'm thinking about Jey Uso, but I'd rather do Jimmy Jey Uso.
Yeah, you got to do the brothers.
100%. So I think Jey deserves that spot, but not over him fighting his brother Jimmy. I don't know. Do you have a thought? Like, I really don't. Nobody really like comes to mind. Gunther, I guess.
That's the answer.
And I love Gunther, but Gunther better win then.
It's the only answer I have because I don't think anything else is appealing. If it's not Punk, I don't have a good answer besides doing a little Gunther, Seth Rollins, and by the way, keep the IC title on him and pull a little Ultimate Warrior action. Title for title.
And Gunther goes over and wins.
Yeah, I think he'd have to go over.
Yeah, because we also don't know where Seth's out. Seth might just be coming to do the match, lose, and go get surgery.
Right, well, that's
the other part of this,
Plus,
too. He might just be going to lose.
He's also had the title for a very long time. He's been the only champion they had. I think to really make that title bigger, he's going to have to go to someone else.
Does CM Punk ever wrestle another match in WWE?
Yeah. I don't think he wants his career to end this way. I think he's back at SummerSlam, but I don't think we see a lot of him.
Yeah, because we were talking about that. We were trying to, as wrestling fans, as you know, as we do, we just book the territory. This guy's going to win. This guy's going to win. And we thought Roman loses the belt, goes away, comes back as a good guy. Heyman has nothing to do. He goes with a heel Punk.
Yes.
And then Roman.
I know. There was so many great possibilities with this
guy.
By
the way, you could still do because Roman can go away for a while and take some time off. But you can still do this a year or two down the line.
I know, but now you're pushing everything down so long.
I know that, but we want to see that. I think a lot of people out there right now would be more interested in that than most things they would do.
Well, most people are done hearing wrestling, and now they're ready for a Lugauer.
Yes.
So coming up next, a Lugauer into the grand return of Ben Simmons. He's playing basketball tonight,
really?
folks. The Nets against the Jazz. And then me and Tiki will talk to you at 2 o'clock.